Bionicle 2009, aka the Bara Magna Saga, gets a lot of flack from people. Because the theme got cancelled in 2010, the world never felt as well developed as it could have been. The characters had to have very rushed development, and the mysteries of the franchise had to be tied up very quickly. I'll probably supplement this list with a top 10 worst things about Bionicle 09 at some point, just to be fair to that side of the spectrum. But for all of 2009's flaws, it had a lot of cool stuff that people often overlook or underappreciate. Subjectively speaking, I really like the Bara Magna Saga, so today I'm going to be telling you my personal top 10 awesome things about Bionicle 2009. Kicking off the list at number 10, we've got plenty of awesome vehicle sets. In 2008, Bionicle introduced Technic-built vehicle sets that everybody loved. The Axelara T9, the Jetrax T6, the Rocco T3, and even Mezica's Swamp Strider and Voltraz's Glider Thing were beloved additions to the franchise. 2009 upped the ante by delivering 5 more vehicle sets, all distinct, colorful, and intricate. The Syndox V1's a really cool small-scale sandmobile, I guess. It's got awesome blades and treads, so who really cares what it is exactly? The Caxium V3 is a killer motorcycle that can split in two. The Baranus V7 is a neat chariot with a horrendously ugly, in a good way, I think, spigot to drive it. The Thornatus V9 is this crazy land vehicle with a giant wheel, 4 launchers, and a transformation. And the Scopio XV1, who doesn't love that? An awesome scorpion mech with the ability to transform into a tank? Sign me up. 2009 definitely upped the ante with its vehicle wave. At number 9, we've got Bara Magna's vastly different tone in comparison to the Matoran Universe of the first 8 years. Bionicle 2009 depicted a world in very dire circumstances, with the populace just barely clinging on to a fragile existence. For any creature unlucky enough to live on Bara Magna, every single day was a struggle, and the story effectively communicated this. There's an entire short story called The Crossing that entirely revolves around the difficulty of transporting a wagon of precious metal called Obsidian across the desert landscape. Bara Magna is full of so many perils, natural and otherwise, that a story with that simple of a premise can be riddled with enough danger and peril to warrant telling the tale. There's a plethora of death, violence, and destruction, and the Glatorian and Agori seem to be completely hopeless in their struggles, right up until Maranui, their savior, arrives. Coming in at number 8, we've got the 2009 set design, particularly that of the Glatorian. We already touched on the brilliance of the vehicles, but 2009's canister sets, the Glatorian, are also worthy of praise. The Agori too, to a lesser extent, but Matoran builds. Bleh. For many years, people complained about Bionicle's shift in set design from bright, vibrant characters with elemental overtones to dark colors with an overload of silver and metallic hues. This reached its peak in 2008 with the release of the Toa Mystica and Fantoka, to a lesser degree. People wanted the elements back, and 2009 definitely delivered. Every Glatorian was very clearly designed with their element in mind, from the snakes adorning Vastus of the Jungle Tribe, to Strack, whose crystalline shoulder armor, helmet, and axe showed he truly belonged to the Ice Tribe. Malam and Akar's flame motif, the brilliant liquid blades of Terex, the scorpion motif of Vorox, Gelu and Metis' snowflake armor/shield, the giant spiked rock armor of Stronius, the list goes on and on. In addition to bringing the elements back, 2009 also added some variety to the entire Danica build, with sets like Strack, Skrull, Vorox, and Gresh, adopting new variations to it in order to add diversity, while some sets like Kina just did their own thing altogether. Between the Glatorian and the vehicles, as well as standout sets like Pharaoh and Skirmix, 09 truly brought a lot of awesome stuff to the table. The number 7 spot goes to the concept of the Element Lords. Seeking assistance in leading the inhabitants of Spherus Magna, the Great Beings imbued 6 members of the Glatorian species, plus 1 leader class Skrull, with elemental powers, causing them to become unified with their elements and transform into mighty Element Lords. They were intended to take care of all the logistics of managing a world so the Great Beings could continue their research and experiments without distractions. Unfortunately, the Element Lords, due to the manipulations of the Element Lord of Earth, eventually began fighting with each other over control of the energized protodermis spring at the core of Spherus Magna, leading to the Core War. The Element Lords are an incredibly cool idea, and I would have loved to see them used more and given more prominence, which was the original plan. They were going to be the main villains in the cancelled 5th Bionicle movie before the theme's untimely end. For anyone unaware, Greg first released the original script treatment for Bionicle 5 over on BZ Power, which I'll link in the description below for you all to read. As it stands, the Element Lords didn't really do much in the main Bionicle plot worth writing home about, but the concept behind them and the few appearances they did have more than earned them their spot in this countdown. As we move into number 6, we've got to talk about Bionicle, The Legend Reborn, the 4th Bionicle movie, and, sadly, regarded as the worst by many people. I contend this point because even though it's cheesy and filled with pacing issues, TLR does a lot of really awesome stuff. Its art style made an effort to be way more set accurate, and although not everybody loves it, I vastly prefer it to the Remakes movies, which were always a bit too stylized for my tastes. There's a lot of good comedy, more visceral action scenes than the past movies with a focus on melee combat, some top-notch voice acting, and as an introductory film for the planned second Bionicle trilogy, I think it did its job admirably. I would have loved to see more adventures with Akar, Kina, Gresh, and Matanui, but alas, it was not to be. And TLR stands as a monument to what could have been. Coming in at number 5, we have Tuma and the Skrull Army. Because of their portrayal in TLR, people often underappreciate just how nuanced the Skrull actually were as adversaries. A brutal and savage race of conquerors, the Skrull, led by Tuma, sought to take control of all of Bara Magna. But why? Why would they want control of a bland, dangerous wasteland of a region plagued by a lack of resources and generally dangerous climate? The answer was, in a way, quite tragic. After the Shattering, the Skrull dominated the area north of the Black Spike Mountains, but were driven out of the region by the Batera, shape-shifting robots programmed by the Great Beings to attack and destroy anything with weaponry. Their empire destroyed and countless lives lost to the shape-shifting menace, the Skrull were forced to flee, setting their last remaining fortress ablaze in flames in order to give them time to escape the Batera. They migrated south to Bara Magna under the leadership of Tuma, the last surviving leader-class Skrull, who felt a tremendous amount of pressure and anxiety to preserve the Skrull race by any means necessary. He was haunted by the threat of the Batera, who he knew would one day find him and his people again, and believed that possessing a large amount of wide-open space would be the key to formulating a defense against them and countering their propensity for subterfuge and ambushes. None of this is to say that Tuma or the Skrull are good people, because despite their own struggles, they were still willing to kill by the score and topple the fragile society of the Agorian Glatorian for their own self-preservation. But they're a very well-written antagonistic force, and one of the aspects about 09 that is often discounted by many. The number 4 spot in this list goes to the other Bara Magna characters, besides the Skrull, and how well-written many of them were, despite their short amount of screen time. Despite being a bit archetypal, there were many memorable characters in Bionicle 2009. Akar, the aged warrior whose experiences with death and suffering began to weigh heavily on him and cause him to lose confidence in himself, is one such example. Then there's Kina, who detested Bara Magna and wanted nothing more than a better world to live in. Gresh, the idealistic and optimistic rookie who was determined to do the right thing no matter what. Metis, the supremely intelligent and conniving Agori traitor. Malum, the exiled Glatorian who went too far in the arena. Strack, the money-hungry Glatorian from the Ice Tribe whom Malum almost killed, and Gelu, who shows that wanting money and compensation doesn't automatically make you a terrible person. Him and Strack in particular have excellent dynamics in Raid on Volcanus, and are two of my favorite characters. 09 was filled with awesome characters, and the fact they were able to do so much with them in such a short amount of time is commendable. They weren't perfect, by any stretch, but still pretty awesome. As we move into the top 3, we've got to talk about the backstory of the Bionicle Universe, revealed in 2009. Love it or hate it, but 09 brought with it a plethora of answers to long-standing Bionicle questions and speculation. We learned about the Great Beings, their role in Spherus Magna Society as the scientist kings of the planet, the Shattering, the cataclysmic event which prompted the creation of the Matanui robot, the robot's intended purpose, that being to repair the fractured planet of Spherus Magna, the origins of energized protodermis and how it related back to everything, and the meaning of the UDD symbol that was Bionicle's logo since the very beginning, the fractured pieces of Spherus Magna, aka Bara, Bota, and Aqua Magna. Some people might not enjoy how all of these things were revealed, and might not even like the payoff for Bionicle's long-standing mysteries, but you can't deny that Bara Magna brought answers. The second spot on this list is going to go to Matanui actually being a character. Despite being controversial in his implementation, actually getting to see Matanui do stuff after 8 years of build-up was undeniably pretty awesome. Watching him struggle with basic concepts like friendship, personal investment, and war and tragedy, fighting for a cause, and discovering what unity, duty, and destiny meant to him personally were all awesome aspects. His friendship with Click, while perhaps a bit cliche, did a lot to humanize him and brought plenty of memorable moments. I would have liked to see more of his character in order to flesh him out more, give him some more discernible flaws maybe, and bring him some more depth, but alas, the theme was cancelled, and that was not to be. I think Greg should be commended for making Matanui as good of a character as he was. That brings me to my personal greatest thing about Bionicle 2009, the fact they were able to do so much in basically just a year. Sure, there were 2 comics and a book in 2010, but that mainly served to conclude the storyline. The bulk of the heavy lifting was done in 2009. Originally planned to be a multi-year saga where this kind of stuff could be doled out to us gradually, the theme was cancelled, and so things had to be reshuffled. 2009 had to introduce a new planet, while teasing 2 more, introduce 30+ new characters in an attempt to give them all personalities, introduce a completely new antagonistic force whilst simultaneously making them threatening and sympathetic, do heavy-duty world building to show us the terrible place that Bara Magna really was in order to make us care about the people in it, communicate to the audience the rules and society of Bara Magna so we understood why stuff was happening, show us how this world was different than the Matoran Universe we'd spent 8 years in, find a way to make characters and conflict interesting without elemental powers and without mask powers, provide the entire backstory of the Bionicle theme and answer most long-standing mysteries, introduce Matanui as a character and give him thoughts, emotions, personal demons, friendships, personal investment, and a means of defeating Pterodax and bringing about the final battle, simultaneously act as a soft reboot of the theme, as was the intended purpose, while also bringing things to a hasty conclusion in order to accommodate the abrupt cancellation, and it has to do all of this while also dealing with a reduced number of books, as only 1 book, Raid on Volcanus, was released for the entirety of Bionicle 2009. 09 is not perfect. The landscape is boring to some, the characters sometimes feel half-baked, or never even put into the oven, like with Perditus, and some of the answers we received about long-standing mysteries didn't please everybody. But I frankly find it amazing that 2009 turned out to be as good as it was. By all accounts, it should have buckled under the pressure of what it had to accomplish. As it stands, while it might not be the greatest thing ever, it has tons of things to appreciate, and I firmly believe that had the Spherus Magna Saga been given the time to develop that was initially intended, fans would regard it with just as much fondness as our beloved Matoran Universe. As it stands, the fact that Bara Magna succeeded with as much as it did despite being given only 1 year to do so, takes the top spot on this countdown. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Share your own favorite things about Bionicle 2009 and the Bara Magna Saga in general in the comments section below, or continue the discussion over on the TTV message boards at board.ttvchannel.com. And if you'd like to support us further, please consider checking us out on Patreon over at patreon.com/the TTV channel. For as little as $1 a month, you can get access to our special patron-only Discord server, where you can interact with us and show up in our podcast videos, as well as help us bring back the TTV t-shirts. This has been Meso, and I'll see you next time for another fun Bionicle Top 10. Have a good one, everybody.